Everyone, Blumhouse's new film Wolfman, directed by Leigh Whannell, tackles the old and somewhat stale werewolf horror genre, which is actually one of my absolute favorite types of stories in dark fiction and film. So, does it bring something new to the genre? Does Wolfman succeed in revitalizing the lore while staying true to its roots? That is the $25 million question for Blumhouse today. And a quick heads up that I am going to put a short discussion about the ending of the movie at the end of the video after my recommendation. It's a bit of a spoiler, so skip that until you are ready to chat about the ending. Before we get started, please do like this review, subscribe for more, and let YouTube know that this is the kind of content you enjoy. I'd love to have you stick around. Thanks so much. All right, so Wolfman follows Blake, a man who grew up in the deep woods of Oregon, but has since moved to the city far away from the family home. His childhood was absolutely marked with fear, fueled by his father, who terrified him so much that when Blake left, he never looked back. Years later, he and his wife Charlotte and their daughter Ginger returned to his estranged father's home to pack it up after the state declares his dad dead. The family plans to spend the summer there, giving them a chance to reconnect and enjoy the woods. On their way to the house, Blake swerves off the road to avoid hitting someone. In the commotion, Blake gets scratched by something and then hustles the family to the house when they realize that that something is actually following them. From there, the story unfolds as the creature stalks the house and Blake's wound begins to fester with an infection that is changing him into something unrecognizable. At first glance, Wolfman achieves what it sets out to do. It tells a suspenseful, engaging werewolf story that blends familiar horror tropes with a couple of fresh elements, like having the transition to Wolfman be permanent. Once the Wolfman's body changes, it never goes back to a human form. That was interesting. Without getting into any real details about the film weaves in some local indigenous lore about the creatures, referring to them as face of the wolf, which adds some depth with its modest cultural resonance. This infusion of folklore and permanence of the wolf form makes the narrative feel a little more grounded and less supernatural. While the plot may feel somewhat predictable to a seasoned horror fan, it's well executed enough to keep you engaged and committed throughout. There are a couple of big things, though, that the film does that are amazing, and one that actually might upset some fans. Leigh Whannell's direction really leans into the cinematic elements in the visual storytelling for Wolfman. The Oregon wilderness is both beautiful and menacing, with sweeping shots of dense forests that seem to close in on the characters, adding to the claustrophobic tension. The interplay of shadow and light, whether in the forest or in the house, is striking, especially during Blake's transformation sequences. This includes the CGI and lighting shifts that mirror his internal struggle to retain his humanity and his connection to his family, which also pull in elements of sound design and camera motion to convey the shifting perspectives of the point of view character within the story. This keeps us connected to Blake and to his struggle to maintain control of his mind. This is very intentional. This is a directorial choice that connects to something we need to talk about in just a moment. They also incorporate a thoughtful sound design that includes this low rumbling score that bubbles up during different points in the film when the creature is near, and they blend it with these dissonant tones that really mash up with well-timed jump cuts to heighten the key moments of suspense. The use of these elements elevates Wolfman into an artistic action horror film that resonates with the artistry from the recent adaptation of Nosferatu, but apply to a forest setting and an old farmhouse setting. In that way, the use of shadow and light is also very reminiscent of the film Never Let Go, which also deals with a legacy of family trauma in the deep woods setting. Wolfman doesn't exist in a vacuum. It draws inspiration from a long lineage of werewolf films, from classics like The Wolfman from 1941 to modern reimaginings like An American Werewolf in London or even Ginger Snaps. However, it carves its own niche by focusing on a deeply personal and family centric narrative within a rustic and remote environment. Unlike its predecessors, which often leaned heavily on campy horror or gothic aesthetics, Wolfman roots its terror in the familiar, leaning into the natural world, family dynamics, and generational trauma, as well as survival instincts. This blend of tradition and innovation positions it as one of the best new werewolf films in the genre, despite some of its flaws. Blake, played by Christopher Abbott, is a compelling father and husband who is clearly struggling not to become his dad. As a child, he witnesses something really traumatic in the woods, which his father is obsessed with tracking down, and that shapes Blake's fears, damaging their relationship. Then fast forward to adulthood, and Blake is a loving father who shares a touching bond with his daughter Ginger, played by Matilda Firth. They have a game called What Am I Thinking, where she touches his head and then she guesses his thoughts. It beautifully illustrates their connection. And this bond becomes a lifeline for Blake later in the story when his transformation is really starting to take hold. However, there is a little ambiguity about why he knows nothing about the forest creature despite growing up there in a house with an obsessive father. If he blocked it all out, this should have been addressed in some way in the film. His wife, Charlotte, played by Julia Garner, does a really good job with her role, but she's not really a standout in this film. Instead, it's Matilda Firth as the daughter, Ginger, who really grounds their family. She's sweet and compelling, and her love for her dad is the anchor to which Blake attaches in this film. And it's his ability to hold onto his identity and his humanity by hanging on to that anchor. The familial dynamic is really the strength of the movie, offering an emotional core that elevates the story beyond just mere jump scares and shadows moving in the distance. The creature is especially well done, whether it's the beast that Blake sees from a distance as a child or the creature that forces their truck off the road and stalks them in the farmhouse. The Wolfman is well done, holding onto both sides of the creature from human to beast and making that fusion of the two so much more realistic and plausible. And one of the most striking elements of Wolfman is its exploration of trauma and its generational legacy. Blake's father, while trying to protect him, inadvertently causes the very damage he was trying to prevent. Now, Blake faces a similar dilemma. How do you shield your loved ones without becoming the monster that is the source of their pain? His transformation into a wolfman is not just physical, it's symbolic of the internal battle that many parents face as they transform from frightened child to protective parent. I also really appreciated the pack mentality theme that underscores Blake's primal instinct to protect his family, even as he's losing himself to the wolf. While Wolfman excels in many areas, there are a few issues. Blake's return to the forest without knowledge or fear of the creature feels underexplained given his traumatic past. His decision to bring his family there, despite the clear danger, requires some justification that we don't get. Additionally, some of the plot points, like Blake's struggle to remember the way to his childhood home, feel slightly contrived, creating this really convenient excuse to come across his old neighbor, Derek, who offers to guide them home, making Derek a character of convenience to kick off the film's action. Another potential criticism, and this is a big one, is the predictability for a seasoned horror fan. While the film introduces new elements, it doesn't entirely escape the conventional pattern of the genre. But this is such a small thing for me. I really only mention it because I know other people will notice it. I think the biggest logic error is at the end when the survivors find the moving truck, which went off the road. And it would have easily allowed them to trace their way back to the road. But instead, they walk deeper into the wilderness, which again seems contrived, so that the film could get an ending shot of this beautiful valley looking out and providing this redemptive moment of hope that everything will be okay, which is odd because now they are lost in the forest rather than walking along a road where they can hitch a ride to the nearest town. If you're a fan of horror or the werewolf genre, Wolfman is worth watching. It's a solid blend of suspense, emotional depth, and chilling atmosphere. While it might not reinvent the genre, it's a commendable addition that balances scares with heartfelt storytelling. For newcomers to horror, this film could serve as a great gateway to the genre, offering just enough innovation to stand out. And I definitely think it's worth the price of the ticket. So you should definitely go see it and then come back here and let me know what you think. Now, we're going to get into the spoiler that I mentioned about the ending. So if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want to be spoiled, end the video here and move along. Come back later because I really want to talk to you about this. All right. So the ending of Wolfman is bound to spark discussion, particularly regarding the fact that Charlotte, a frail looking woman, is able to kill Blake after he transforms into the wolf. In today's cinematic landscape, the rise of Mary Sue-like characters and the diminishing of male heroes often leads to big anti-woke criticisms. And sometimes it's rightly so, and sometimes it's not. However, Wolfman subverts this trend in a subtle way through his connection to his family, specifically to his daughter, even as the wolf begins taking over his ability to communicate and think. It doesn't erase his love for Charlotte and especially Ginger. Love is the bond that keeps Blake connected to his family, and it overrides his animal human transition to a degree. And it feels natural because we all know how deep animal bonds are with each other and with humans they love. And this translates well within the story because his family never quite turns on him until the very end when it's harder to see his humanity and he becomes truly scary to them. Except for that final scene when he looks at Ginger as if he is employing her to read his mind like in their game. And she tells her mom that daddy wants to die. When Charlotte still doesn't shoot him, he makes this quick move that startles her into action and she fires. In that way, his death is his choice. He knows what he's doing. He remains the protagonist of the story and the hero all the way through. And I think there are some people who might not see that. So I just want to say that through the film, Blake really does hold on to his role as hero and protagonist and father. He succeeds against the disease that is taking his mind and the wolf that is consuming him by choosing to die to protect the people he loves. The only things that are left in the world that actually matter to him. That is why Charlotte is not a Mary Sue. And it's why Blake remains the hero of the story from start to finish. When you really think about it this way, It's a beautiful ending to the story. So, Wolfman, have you seen it? Are you planning to watch it? And what do you think about the werewolf horror genre and its approach to timeless monsters like the wolf? Let me know in the comments because I love talking about werewolves. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might enjoy this film. Also, while you're here, why not check out one of these videos like Never Let Go or Nosferatu? All right. Until next time, I'll see y'all later. Bye.